Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the physical world we see every day? What if someone actually experienced heaven and came back to tell the story? In today's video, we're diving into one of the most mysterious and fascinating passages in the Bible, the moment when Paul the Apostle speaks about being caught up to the third heaven. Let's explore what happened, what it means, and why it still matters today. To understand this story, we need to look at a letter Paul wrote to Corinthians, chapter 12. In this letter, Paul is defending his ministry. Some people were questioning his authority, comparing him to other teachers, instead of boasting like they expected. Paul does something very unusual. He shares a deeply personal and mysterious experience, but he doesn't even speak about it directly. Instead, he says, "I know a man in Christ." Most scholars agree he's talking about himself, but he uses this indirect language to stay humble. He then describes an incredible event. This man was caught up to the third heaven. So what exactly is the third heaven? In ancient Jewish thought, the heavens were often described in layers. The first heaven is the sky, the place of clouds and birds. The second heaven is outer space, the sun, moon, and stars. The third heaven is beyond all of that. It's understood as the dwelling place of God, the spiritual realm, paradise itself. So, when Paul says he was caught up to the third heaven, he's describing an experience of being taken into God's presence. Paul says something very interesting about this event. He doesn't know whether it happened in the body or out of the body. In other words, he's unsure if this was a physical journey or a spiritual vision. That alone tells us how powerful and real the experience felt. He also says he heard inexpressible things that no one is permitted to tell. Think about that for a moment. Paul, one of the most influential teachers in Christianity, says he saw and heard things so incredible that he couldn't even describe them or wasn't allowed to. This creates a sense of mystery. We're given just enough to know it was real, but not enough to fully understand it. Now here's the key question. Why does Paul even bring this up? Interestingly, he says he doesn't want to boast about it. In fact, right after describing this incredible experience, Paul shifts the focus to something unexpected: his weakness. He talks about a thorn in the flesh, a struggle or hardship that he faced constantly. He says this was given to him to keep him from becoming proud because of the surpassing greatness of his revelations. In other words, even though Paul had this extraordinary spiritual experience, he was also given a limitation to keep him grounded. This is where the story becomes really powerful. Paul prayed 3 times for this thorn to be removed, but the answer he received was, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." So instead of focusing on his trip to the third heaven, Paul focuses on what he learned afterward. The lesson is not about escaping to heaven, it's about how to live on earth. Strength doesn't come from spiritual experiences alone. It comes from relying on God, especially in moments of weakness. So, what does this mean for us today? First, it reminds us that there is more to reality than what we can see. Paul's experience points to a spiritual dimension beyond our physical world. Second, it teaches humility. Even someone who experienced heaven didn't use it to elevate himself above others. And third, it shows that our struggles have purpose. Paul's thorn wasn't meaningless, it shaped his character and deepened his dependence on God. The story of Paul being caught up to the third heaven is one of the Bible's greatest mysteries. We don't know exactly what he saw. We don't know exactly how it happened, but maybe that's the point. The focus isn't on the details of heaven, it's on the transformation of the person who experienced it. Paul came back not boasting about glory, but embracing humility, weakness, and grace. And that's a message that still speaks powerfully today. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into biblical mysteries and spiritual insights. And let me know in the comments, what do you think Paul saw in the third heaven? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.